through that whole process with you? Like, what's the biggest surprise for them, and what's the biggest surprise for you? Because I'm going to tell you what my surprise is when I see first-time home buyers.
People usually get pretty shocked when I mention things like termites or drainage issues. They have the big, wide, bright eyes. I have to kind of reel them back a little bit and explain that everything's treatable. This is not a massive, major issue.
Yeah. And do you find that with home inspectors? I think that why some home inspectors, why home inspectors sometimes get, I don't even want to say that bad rap, but it's when you're pointing out things, you're not necessarily saying it's a bad thing, but you're also telling them how to improve on those things, correct? Right. So why don't you take us through the process when you first get to the house and you're meeting that. Oh, well, I'm going to tell you what I think is the most surprising thing for me with first-time home buyers is that they bring their whole family. And there's so many like different like memes and things out there about like the dads, like. Yep. And I had a situation one time last year, and it was a young girl was purchasing one of my listings. Her boyfriend, who had nothing to do with the sale, was there with his dad. His dad, I just happened to, like, I pop in. I let the buyer be, like, I'll go in, I'll introduce myself as the listing agent and just say, if any questions come up, I'm going to be close by. If anything major comes up, please call me. Just because I feel like that's the buyer's time to really learn about the house. They're paying for the home inspection. They should have that quality time with their inspector, and they don't need the noise of me as a listing agent sort of hovering around them. And I just happened to go there. I sat, I introduced myself, and I was like, anything comes up, just let me know. I went into the driveway, and I was like, oh, good opportunity for me to check my emails and my voicemails and stuff like that, because I had been on the road all morning. And lo and behold, I see the boyfriend's father go to his car, no lie, with a ladder. He took a ladder out of the back of his truck, brought it over to the chimney, and proceeded to try to climb the ladder. And I called the buyer's agent, and I was like, you need to get your outside right now, because the boyfriend's dad went rogue. And it was like, and he's like, well, I want to check. And you can't. Like, you're not licensed and you're not insured. So let's back up a little bit and talk about that. What are the qualifications that make you a professional expert home inspector in the state of Massachusetts?
Well, it's quite a lengthy process. You have to go through the home inspection course. It's not too bad. It's an 80-hour course. But then you need 25 inspections to get your associate license under direct supervision. Mm-hmm. And then you need an additional 100 inspections indirectly supervised, where they approve your inspections, and then 1 full year under somebody else before you can go off on your own.
Wow.
It's like an apprenticeship, like any other, like a plumbing, electrician. They want you to make sure you know your stuff before you're out there in the world talking to people.
Mm-hmm. Which makes sense. I mean, you certainly would want that, don't you think?
Absolutely.
And I think that that's one of the things, too, is in the state of Massachusetts, we are required to report anything. We have to disclose anything that an expert discloses to us. And in the state of Massachusetts, since you go through that whole process and you are licensed through the state, you are considered an expert. That's why I'm really bummed. I'm really trying to get in touch with my other guest, because one of the things that she always suggests to her clients is that they do a pre-home inspection. And I have pros and cons about that. So, and that's a really good sort of leeway question to our listeners this morning. What are your thoughts on a pre-home inspection before you put your house on the market? Because if you're thinking about putting your house on the market, remember, spring market starts that Monday after Super Bowl Sunday, which is the first weekend of February. 781-837-4900. We would love to hear from you if you want to give us what your input is on that. So back to what we were discussing too about the process. Take me slowly, step by step, when you get to the house, and how do you start and what do you do? And do you do any research prior to getting to the house?
Yes, so we use a inspection software that has every component house it could possibly have on it. And if I don't narrow it down, it becomes this giant, ridiculous report. So I pull up the listing generally and find the components that are part of this inspection and remove the ones that aren't, so it's a more clean, concise report.
Okay.
When I get on site, I start with the exterior, starting with the grading and the turf, watching for drainage, Drainage are the most important parts of a home inspection. Water penetration is the enemy. Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of water up here.
Yes.
Humidity, rain, snow, whatever. Mm-hmm. The roof, the gutter systems, the siding, visible foundation, walkways, doorways, windows, the chimney, anything from flashing to caulking.
What are you looking for, like when you say you're looking at windows and you're looking at the roof and you're looking at the chimney? What are the specifics that you're looking at and for?
So on the foundation, we're looking for any kind of structural cracking where it looks like the house could be moving, as well as things like termite mud tubes or any kind of structural problems. With siding, we're looking for anything from bird damage to even the lawnmower throwing rocks at the vinyl siding. Chimneys, we're looking for the proper conditions. We want the mortar to be in good shape. We don't want any spots where you can see through the chimney, missing bricks, damaged crown. We want to see that chimney cap so they can come down into the chimney.
Okay.
We want the roof. We want to know how old it is roughly. We don't want a super old roof on a house. We want to make sure that it looks, flat and level, doesn't have, dipping or warping on there or lifting shingles.
Yep. So with the chimney, I got to tell you, Mary Baker, who is my team member, she's actually doing open houses today, excuse me, in West Bridgewater, so she can't be with us either. That's her thing. I could see that the chimney was pulling away from the house. So that's one thing that you're looking for. What are the detriments of that happening?
Both water penetration and also safety. If the chimney is pulling from the house, it could at some point potentially become detached from the house.
Yep.
But a lot of it is water penetration. We don't want any water between any components of the house.
Okay.
That corrodes the wood and rots the wood, and then you have major structural concerns.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I am literally just trying to still get in touch with our other guest. So I'm all done doing that. So now that you've done the exterior of the house, some of the things, let's talk about each thing individually. So if you're a homeowner, this is one of the things that I always try to discuss with people as a homeowner is the maintenance aspect of owning a home is so important, because when the time does come for you to sell your home, and generally speaking, everybody eventually does sell it other than me and Mark. I mean, we've been in the same house now for 30 years, but for the most part, a lot of people do sell their house. What are some of the maintenance items that you suggest, so when you're walking around with that home buyer that's excited about buying the house? And that's the other thing too, is how do you calm the excitement down? You're pretty level-headed too, I got to tell you. There are a few people in my life that I use this phrase about. One of them is to my attorney, Emmanuel Ebot from Styles. I love working with him because he's one pulse short of being flatlined, which is good because you have a very calm demeanor with something that could be so, if for them the excitement is up and you could be telling them some really bad news, so it's nice that you're sort of level-headed. What are some of the maintenance items that you say to people? So you show up to the house and you're like, all right, I know, punchy windowsills and stuff like that,
Yep, we'll keep the air on the foundation clear of debris. Move the leaves away. I recommend not putting wood chips near a foundation. You're just inviting pests in. Keeping the trees trimmed back so it doesn't scrape the roof line, the siding, or give anything a pathway into the house. But as far as in the house goes, boiler maintenance, furnace maintenance, very important.
Yeah.
For an oil burner, once a year. Natural gas, every 2 years is pretty safe. Once a year is still a good number. Get it clean, serviced, make sure it's in good operating condition. Mostly keeping things clean, really.
I know, it really does come down to something simple. I mean, one of the suggestions that we always give to clients, too, is, a couple times a year, and it's easy to do because if you do it at the same time where, daylight savings is, just take a walk around your house. And just take a notebook with you and write down every little thing, make yourself a punch list, I know I have told this story before, and I don't think that you heard it, but at my own home, the way my house sits on the lot, the left side, we never go over there. There's no need to. So I'm never over on that left side of the house. My driveway is on the right. My garage is on the right. To get into the backyard is on the right. I'm never on the left side of my house, ever. and we were getting the house painted, and the painter was there, and I just wanted to say something to him. By the way, it's Kevin Senna from Senna Painting. He is wonderful. Again, everybody knows I like to keep it hyper local, so I do. He was on the left side of the house, and I went over to talk to him, and I was like, oh my God. And I was looking at my chimney, and there was like this massive crack right down my chimney. I mean, we light fires like all winter long. That's like our thing to do on weekends, and have a nice fire, watch the game, have a glass of wine or whatever. I was shocked that me, who teaches this to people all the time, never did it, and I would have never seen it if I didn't go over there. So out of that, I changed my mindset and said, well, let's do, this is what we should do, is at least a couple times a year, walk around the house and take full inventory of what is going on. So that ended up being a repair, again, with somebody very local, hyper-local. So Steve Springhetti, he was our mason, and he did our chimney repair. I could just sit here all day and just talk about the people I refer, so... all right, so when you've done the exterior of the home, let me talk about a couple other things. If you have a detached garage, do you inspect that?
Yes.
Okay.
That's part of the inspection. There's no additional fees for that.
Okay.
And we're doing the same structural inspection as we do in the basement of the house. We're looking at the sills, we're looking at any visible framework. If there's an attic area or a roof area, we can see the sheathing, the framing, things of that nature. Looking for any kind of pests, moisture intrusion, rotted wood, damage if it has finished walls and ceilings. We're looking for water staining or any kind of cracking, damaging, things of that nature.
Yeah, you had just said something too, and it made me think of something else, and then it just went right out of my head. That's why I always have pen in front of me, by the way. So, yeah, when it came to the garage, I did have a question about that. But so if you have a pull-down attic, will you go up into the attic and things like that of the whole garage? And then what about the electrical? Because I know we have a separate electrical panel, I think, to our garage.
Yep, we'll open any panel that we find, whether it's a sub-panel, a main panel, things of that nature. We want to make sure that it's wired properly, that the right size wire on the right size breaker. We don't want overheating in there. It can be a fire hazard.
Oh, yeah.
Recently, I actually saw evidence of mice in a electrical panel because they didn't have all the punch-outs filled. It's important to have those punch-outs filled, have all breakers not in use being off and not in the on position. Just small maintenance things.
Do you, I know sometimes there's been situations where after a home inspection as a listing agent, one time I remember clearly that the inspector went in and he was flipping everything all over the place. You make sure that you put everything back, obviously.
Yes. I mean, the goal is to not touch any breakers that we don't have to.
Yeah.
And if we have to turn something on, we try to get the realtor to do it just so it's...
not you.
Yeah, basically. We try to leave the house a little bit better than we found it. If I find a door that kind of rubs a little bit, I might tighten the hinge.
Oh, okay.
And see if that fixes the issue, and then not even put it on the report at that point.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's one thing I definitely want to get to at our break. We'll take a break at 10:30. I will come back and I want to talk about your report because it's so thorough. And I know there's just the way that Steve was doing it certainly wasn't wrong because I've been using Steve for 20 years of my career. But you do it differently. And, we've gotten a lot of compliments on the way that you're doing your report. So we'll definitely highlight that and talk about that more. So another thing with outside and exterior fixtures or whatever. What about a pool house? Like my house, I have a cabana.
We can do it. We charge an additional, usually it's $100 for an outbuilding.
Okay.
If it's a pool house where it's actually bathroom, living room, kitchen, we might do that as an in-law.
Oh, okay.
And do it almost like a multifamily at that point almost.
Okay, yep, that makes sense. Yeah, because in ours we have just sort of a bar area and a half bath in there. So I would consider that. We don't have a stove or anything, but...
Let it go outbuilding at that point and not do the full...
The full thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the full charge.
Well, I'll let you know that if you went there right now, you would find rotted wood on the sill. So that's on our project for 2023. And that's the other thing, too, when you are a homeowner, always expect the unexpected. So have a fund for that, and then one thing, Mark and I, for 30 years, well, maybe not the first part of our life together. Things were, paycheck to paycheck. But, now it's like one major thing a year that we will take care of. Like last year, we had to do the driveway over. And not that, I don't know that I consider that part of the house. Do you check driveways?
Absolutely.
Okay, what are you looking for?
We're looking for settlement, evidence of ponding, which is where water is saturating and sitting on the driveway where it's not diffusing like it should. Cracking, looking for like tree roots growing through it.
That happened to me with my new driveway. It's so interesting to me. I took a picture, I did a video of it, and I was like, that's perseverance right there. I mean, this little thing, flower, whatever it was, came right through the asphalt.
Life finds a way.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love that line. I love that. So, and that's the other thing too when it comes to negotiating, and maybe I can, if we have time at the end, we can talk about that. But you know what? Maybe I'm going to save that for next week's show. I'm going to ask Anna to come back, and we can do it right. But we can talk about the negotiating and things like that, and the pros and cons of having a pre-home inspection. So let's see. So Tim, we have just about 10:30 on our end. How about you?
Yep, just about 10:31.
All right, perfect. Why don't we take a break, and we will be right back. Let's face it, we all get to the point in our lives.
He's got to move closer to his mic, and/or you got to boost him. He's still on the soft side.
With ever-changing living dynamics, addressing your future is all about right-sizing. Finding the right-size home for you right now. Are you ready to pay your own mortgage rather than somebody else's? Are you looking forward to living under your own roof? Do you often dream about buying your first home, but you're not sure where to begin?
I think that's
Let
pretty
us help
good.
you find for you right now.
Oh, don't
I'm
do
Sharon
that.
McNamara, the broker owner.
I don't know what that was. Don't do that one.
If you would like a one-on-one consultation with
That was me.
my
Sorry about that.
or one of
Oh,
the
okay.
dedicated
It
agents
almost
at
sounded like
Boston
a
Connect
dentist
Real
drill or
Estate to discuss
something.
your real estate needs, you can connect with us at bostonconnect.com or 781-826-8000.
We now return to Talk Real Estate, sponsored by Boston Connect Real Estate Services on 95.9 WATD.
Andrew, you can just get a little closer. Don't be afraid of it. Okay. And we're back. Sorry about that. You are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. I am Sharon McNamara. I am the broker owner of Boston Connect Real Estate. We are located on the South Shore, where our office is. Main office is right in Pembroke Center, right across the street from Stop and Shop on Mattakeesett Street. So if you are in the area, please feel free to come by and say hello to us while we're in the studio. We are excited to also share that we have a new agent that has joined Boston Connect Real Estate. She was here initially with us when we started Boston Connect Real Estate. Her name is Kate Fisher. Originally, she was Caitlin Stalker, and now she's Kate Fisher, and she is joining us from another firm, and we're really, really excited to have her back home, is what we were saying. It's like one of my baby cubs came back home. So she is here with us, and we're excited about that. So Kate Fisher, full-time real estate agent at Boston Connect Real Estate. If you want to get in touch with her, just call us at the office, 781-826-8000, and we will be sure to get you her phone number. So we were talking, again, we are with Mark. I'm never going to get it right. And you know what? I'm Italian even, and I can't even say it right.
Mark V's okay.
Okay, Mark V. Vitiello?
Vitiello.
Vitiello. Okay, and I love saying it, so I don't know why I can't remember it. So we have Mark Vitiello, and he is the owner, president of Imperial Inspection Services, and we are very, very excited to have him with us today. Everybody knows previously the owner was Stephen Cook, who is still at the firm, right? And is he doing inspections and things like that, or he's just sort of helping?
He's taking more of a back seat.
Yeah.
He's always there for a phone call, for help when I need him.
Okay.
Advice. If it's something we that I haven't seen before, I'll give Steve a call, send a picture, and go, "Have you seen this before? What do you think this is?"
And I'm sure he's seen it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there are times I send him stuff, and I was like, "What the heck is this?" So, and that is one of the things that I do when I am, doing a CMA, which is a comparative market analysis for people. I go in and I just say, I walk around your home as the eyes of a buyer, because buyers are looking for what's wrong, not for what's right. And since I've been doing this so long, and I always, my goal was every time I had a home inspection was to learn something new from Steve. And he did a really good job teaching me as my mentor, I will say. But there are times because I have so much experience, and Mary, like Mary will say, oh, I can see that the chimney is pulling away from, the house. I have a keen eye of seeing that black-like mold substance, like, what they would consider to be mold. I have sort of a keen eye for that. And I always tell people, I am not a home inspector. I am not a mold inspector. But my suggestion would be that you have that sort of looked at and verified. So let's get into a little bit more of, so the interior, when you're going through like room by room, so kitchen and baths, what are the main things that you're doing there?
Kitchen and bath both share plumbing. I'm looking for proper drainage, proper plumbing. I see the homeowner done P-trap, but they've drawn a P with the plumbing, not just the down loop and back.
So you can tell when a homeowner does things.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Flex piping,
Yeah.
the flex drains, corrosion on the actual copper that's coming in. Then the kitchen, so the kitchen doesn't technically have a whole lot to it, but we do offer the free services of checking your stove and microwave and dishwasher.
Yep.
They're not technically part of a home inspection, but you're not going to put a home inspector who doesn't test those components. Make sure
So
that
you just like run the dishwasher, make sure that nothing's leaking and all of that.
Yep, and we check all the burners on the stove, check the oven section of the stove.
The microwave as well. I know I've seen Steve with like this little device.
Yep. The most of my tools use on the microwave. I have 3 tools for a microwave.
Really?
We have a couple of water that goes in there.
Yeah.
And then I have it's called the Magic Lights. It glows orange and finds hot spots and cold spots in a microwave.
Really?
Yep. Without the cup of water, that tool will throw sparks, so we always put the cup of water in there. And then we have a radiation leak detector that we run around the surface to make sure there's no radiation escaping the microwave.
Okay. Have you seen it happen? That it is?
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Really?
A lot of older microwaves, they see those that have you grab on the handle and part of the face kind of peels away a little bit.
Yeah.
Those ones tend to leak.
Oh, okay. So you certainly don't want Chernobyl, you know what I mean? With all that radiation leaking out. But, in all seriousness, I mean, there are a lot of serious health concerns that can come from a home. And I had briefly mentioned mold, and I know that there is, lead paint and radon. Why don't we talk a little bit about those? Can we talk about mold first? Like, what do you do full service with mold and stuff like that now too?
Full service mold inspection, yes. Remediation, no, you can't legally test and inspect.
Okay, well, I did not know that.
Yep, same thing with the home inspection. Anything that I inspect, we cannot fix. It's a conflict of interest.
Yeah,
They don't want us to, pick apart things that aren't really bad just to, get some services out of somebody.
Isn't it sad that people would do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
See, and there's Mark. He's just very casually says, yeah, it stinks, but it happens.
So we do 2 things for mold. We have an indoor air quality monitor where we actually test a few rooms in the house, and it pulls everything from, it's a PCM test, so it does parts per million of allergens, potential molds, VOCs, like carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide.
Okay.
And then we have an actual spore trap that we use.
Okay.
And what that does is that actually, so the first one will tell you mold is present.
Yeah.
The other test, the spore trap, will tell you what kind of mold it is.
Okay.
Like if it's going to cause, a bronchitis issue, whether it's a toxic mold or just the molds that are all around us all the time anyways.
Yeah.
It gives you a better breakdown. It gives you a nice report that explains exactly what it is.
That's so interesting too. So do you find, do people do those types of testing even if you don't visually see something that could potentially be mold-like substance?
It depends on the person.
Okay.
Some folks have health concerns,
Yeah.
and they want to make sure that the house is safe for them.
Yeah.
So they'll order our entire gambit, the water quality, the air quality, mold, lead, which have a big extensive list,
Yeah.
because they just want to make sure the house is as healthy for them as possible.
Yeah, and it is interesting because I know that health concerns are, a major thing, and I'm thinking about a couple different houses. I remember during the time when there were a lot of foreclosures, and I remember specifically going into this one house. It was down in Plymouth, and I was with my clients, and I opened the door. Behind me was the boyfriend, and he was a very, very large man, and she was a very, very small, petite woman, and she was behind him. And I opened the door, and it was almost like, the only thing I can relate it to is like the things that I think about with a like a fire, like you don't open a door, like and it just
The
like,
waft.
Yeah, it literally went and penetrated my nostrils, and I was sick for so long. I got the worst sinus infection, and so did he. But she didn't, because she was probably behind him. So, like, as soon as we opened it.
The baffle.
Yeah, absolutely. Where are the different places where you see mold?
Attics, basements, and then bathrooms.
And what are you looking for?
So with the mold, we're looking for those like little black specklies. That's the main visual mold. But you can't always see mold. So if there's water penetration behind a wall, you can have mold in the wall cavity that you can't see. And that's where my thermal imager comes into play. We bought a new technology, and that can find a water leak that's harder to see, because you can see cold spots in areas, you can see gaps in insulation, things of that nature. To get you a better idea.
So what is this? Tell me about this, because I haven't seen you use this yet.
Thermometer. So it takes a thermal view through the surface of the walls. So you can see gaps in insulation, you can see hot spots, cold spots. Water wall shows us usually is a cold spot. So if there's a bathroom above your head and there's a leak, you can in the ceiling you can see that little like crown on there. It gives you a better excuse me.
That's okay.
It gives you a better idea of what's happening behind the walls, because the one thing home inspectors can't do is see through walls.
You can't? You're not Superman? Oh, sorry. Sorry, we just took a little bit of a break there. Sorry about that silence. So with this up in the attic, when you're looking at that and you see the black-like substance up there, what are usually the main reasons that will happen?
Humidity. If the attic is not properly ventilated, or if it's insulated improperly, you can get a buildup of moist air, and that will create a mold-like growth on those surfaces. It can also cause the roof to not last quite long as it should. Like when you see the sheathing where it warps.
Yeah.
A lot of that's too much heat in the attic, and it starts to warp the sheathing.
You know what? Sometimes when I'm driving by houses and I see the roof and it almost has like streaks like on it, like big, you know what I mean, big long streaks. What is that?
You can see the framing on the inside. That's a moisture issue. That's humidity. So the sheathing is starting to warp around the framework.
Oh, okay. I always wondered about that, because I go by a lot of houses and I see that. A lot of times I see growth on there too, and I just wonder, why don't you get rid of that? But, so back to the mold, because I am very into mold for some reason or another. And I don't want people to be worried about the mold. I mean, if you find that you have mold in your house, and again, I always suggest to my clients when I'm doing a CMA, if something comes up and it is mold, then you have it remediated, And it's better to say that you had it and had it remediated, but it's more important to say, I fixed the issue.
Right.
So when you're talking about the ventilation issue, what are some of the issues? Like there's no baffles, there's no, soffits?
What happens when someone insulates their home on their own is they'll go right to the soffits with the insulation, and they'll remove the ventilation. Or I've even seen where gable vents get boarded up. And there's no cross breeze anymore, where the sheeting goes right to the ridge, and the ridge vent does nothing anymore.
Yeah. Well, there was an issue actually with, I remember this happened at one of my listings long time ago. My client actually was an attorney and ended up having mold up in the attic, and he's like, this doesn't make any sense to me, because we have a newer roof, we have the ridge vent, and from the outside, it looked like it was capped, like it had a ridge vent, but when we went inside, it was never cut. So he really didn't have a ridge vent. So is there such thing as too much? Is like, what if you have a ridge, gables, and soffits? No such thing? You
can never have too much ventilation.
Okay.
Almost every home inspection report will recommend more ventilation.
Okay.
Ventilation is your friend.
All right.
And the only time you don't want ventilation is in hot roof construction. That's where the actual framework of the attic is insulated, and then the attic is considered a conditioned space.
Okay.
And there's no need for ventilation anymore, because it's built not to have it.
Oh, okay. And then the other thing too is, don't people make the mistake, now what you just talked about, where people will decide, oh, I'm going to insulate myself, and then they make the mistake of covering up the soffits. I have seen that so many times in my career as well. But I've also seen that people put it upside down.
All the time.
Yeah. So what is the correct way to do it?
Well, they make it pretty easy. They write right on it that this side should face the living space.
Okay.
I see the same thing in crawl spaces where I'll sit upside down and it's like it says right there which way it goes. Just
So that could be confusing for some people, right? So if it says this should face the living space, if it's up in the attic, that isn't living space. The living space would be below you. So that means that you want the paper facing down.
Depends on the paper, but usually yes.
What's that? Oh, it depends on the paper. Okay. And then if you're in the basement, you want the paper up.
So the paper is usually a vapor barrier.
Yeah.
So you want the paper to be visible in general.
Okay.
Occasionally, certain brands will have it flip because of the way the conditioned space is designed.
Okay.
But for the most part, it's paper towards the non-living space.
Towards the non-living space. Now I'm really confused, Mark. I'm sorry. All right. So if I'm up in the attic and it's not a finished attic, the paper, you would see the paper or you would see the fuzzy pink stuff?
Fuzzy pink stuff.
Okay. In the basement, you would see fuzzy pink stuff?
In the basement, because you want the basement additions to stay down there, you want the vapor barrier visible.
Okay.
You want the paper visible down there.
Okay. Yep. So that's an unfinished basement.
Right.
Okay. Okay. All right. Perfect. Well, I guess just read the directions and you'll be able to see that. So, and then what else did I want to talk about? Oh, so one of the other big things that I see is the bathroom vent. So why don't you discuss that a little bit?
So the bathroom vent is your first line of defense on humidity in the bathroom itself. I see all the time where there is a bathroom vent and either it goes nowhere or it vents right into the attic, which then creates humidity problems in the attic. So done correctly, it'll move the air from inside the bathroom to the exterior and allow the bathroom to breathe properly and not have any added heat and humidity sitting in that room just festering.
Yeah, that is a big one. That's generally, I went into somebody's house recently. This was just last year, probably about like 6 months ago. And there was sort of an in-law section on this house that wasn't being used at the time. And I could see in the I went into the bathroom and on the door, you could see like mold spores on the top of the door.
Well, black speckles.
Yes, I could see that. And I just said to the homeowner, I was like, I said, are you having an issue with your fan? And he looked at me like I was like a magician. I'm like, how would you know that? Like you didn't even put up a switch. And he said, yeah, actually it isn't working right now. And I was like, well, one of the things that I would be concerned about is mold. I said, you can see it here. I said, and if that isn't vented properly up in your attic space over here, chances are you have it up there as well. And lo and behold, we went up there and there was a bunch of stuff. And I said, hey, again, I use my little spiel. I am not a home inspector. I am not a mold inspector, but you should get one here. One of the two should be here to tell you what that is. And ultimately it ended up being mold. And again, back to what my thought was, it shouldn't be scary because mold is pretty easy to remediate other than it being in the wall.
Right.
Are you seeing that a lot in the wall? Because that sort of makes me nervous, actually.
So I can't see mold through walls.
Yeah, but with your little device thing.
Yes, we have seen, usually there's other conditions, when we find that the bath fan is not venting to the exterior, we've run the spore trap,
Yeah.
we usually find mold in a bathroom of that nature. Ones that are vented properly, it's a lot less common.
Okay. Yeah, and it is serious. I mean, if you can't see it behind a wall, then you seriously could have some issues. And can mold, like, what are the issues that mold causes generally? I don't even know if you know the answer to that.
Well, there's different kinds of mold. There's the ones that are more of the allergen.
Yeah.
They kind of make you raspy and wheezy. There's ones that cause anything from infections, like breathing in your lung infections. And then toxic molds that can actually do real damage to you.
Okay. So let's move on because we have just about 10 minutes left. If you are listening, you're listening to WATD, and I am Sharon McNamara, and my show here is Talk Real Estate Roundtable. My sidekicks, Mary Baker and Melissa Wallace, are not with me today, but I have Mark V with me from Imperial Inspection Services, and we're talking all things home inspections and inspections in general. If you have any questions for Mark or for myself regarding real estate, please give us a call. 781-837-4900. We have Tim in studio in Marshfield, and we are in our home studio here in Pembroke at our office at Boston Connect Real Estate, and we'd love to take your call. Again, that number is 781-837-4900. So we finished up with the mold. Let's talk about radon.
Sure.
Get into it. Tell everybody what it is and why we don't want it.
So it's a radioactive gas that's found in the earth from depleted uranium and radium, and it comes up through the foundation. It's the number 2 leading cause of lung cancer. So the test is very simple. We have a machine that we put in place for 48 hours. It does a constant read and gives you a report. Anything below 4 parts is considered safe. Anything above 2.5 you should think about remediating. What happens is in the winter when we close our houses up, we create negative pressure and we get tends to be higher radon than we do in the summer. The windows are open, the house can breathe a little bit. So it's important to test. They say every 6 months is the
Really?
recommended.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense to me too, though, because I know that there have been times in some of my listings, like if there was just a snowfall and the ground was covered, that it tended to be higher inside the house. I know there's this fallacy that it's only near ledge. That's a fallacy. I know it is because I remember one time doing, one of my clients did a radon inspection, and I do want to get into the different types of inspections because I think that that's really important for our listeners to know. But I remember the person saying, because it was a new construction even. So, yes, it's important to do an inspection on new construction just because you want to get to learn your home anyways. And they did the radon test. I have 2 radon stories about new construction. So this one was in Halifax, and I remember the builder saying, "This is built on sand. There's no way that the radon's going to be high." What do you think? It was high. And then my second story was as radon became sort of the trigger thing, the new thing. The developers were one of the developers I was working with started to do like pre-plumbed, I guess would be the word, like put the pipe in for the radon mitigation if ever needed. And we did the inspection and it came back super high. And I went into the house and I was looking, and again, with new construction, there's so many moving parts and things are never completed until it's completed. And I had recognized it before, but I thought that they would have finished it. They didn't cap it.
Okay.
So they were literally
just venting it into the room.
here, radon. Here is your way into the house. And don't you agree that we're seeing higher rates of radon because the homes are built so tight?
Absolutely. New homes are built so tight there's a negative pressure, so it's like a vacuum, and it draws air straight up, and that draws the radon into the house.
So can you discuss, I know you don't do any of the radon mitigation, but can you explain what the process is like when somebody does have that mitigated? Because that's another one that's quite easy.
So we recommend Eagle Environmental. Sorry,
that's who I use too.
What they do is they put perforated piping underneath the concrete and into a main stack. It was like a secondary PVC chimney, and there's a fan and a little meter on there, and the meter reads the pressure levels and blows the radon up and out over the roof line, so it gets it out of your living space.
Yes, and Eagle Environmental is that's the company that I always refer as well when somebody has to get a mitigation system put in, and they on their homepage they have a really good sort of video of how that process works and what it looks like. And it's really important to get it up over the roof line because you don't want it near your windows because you don't want that gas coming back through your windows, right? And radon is quite serious. Again, you said it's the second leading cause of lung cancer. So if you're not a smoker, that's number 1 for you then, right? So, but radon is also very easy to sort of mitigate. I'm never going to say on your own, because if you have it in your home, you should certainly have the mitigation system. But you can open a window and it sort of goes out the window.
It can help. Having the basement ventilated, having the basement windows open can help limit the amount of radon on the space. It's not going to totally fix the problem, but it could help to mitigate it a little bit.
Okay. What about like whole house systems?
Whole house fans are the worst.
Really?
Because it creates negative pressure. It draws the air up and in. So it pulls that in. It also creates humidity problems in the attic space if it's not venting outside.
Okay. So a whole house fan or like a purifier type thing, or like something that takes the humidity out. A whole house, like a dehumidifier.
I wouldn't do anything for radon.
Okay.
But that could help. The dehumidifier could help with mold issues or moisture issues.
Okay. Yeah, because in my own house and in this building, actually, we had humidity issues, and I hate the smell. It's literally ever since that day that I was like hit in the face with it. Mary even knows, oops, we're okay. I wish we had a mute button. That's what I should work on that. One of the things is when, I know like we were going through a house one time and I was with Mary and we were showing the house and she's like, Sharon, don't come up here. We're going to let him take a little bit of a break and I'm just going to talk him through that. You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
I breathed in the water.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to let you know I spit my wine out on the table last night because I laughed so hard. So I'm not even kidding. I'll digress a bit. So I was out with my brother-in-law and my husband and I, and we were playing Mexican Train, and I had a glass of wine, and sometimes funny things will hit my head, and then I'm talking myself through it, and I was like, no, don't say that out loud. Like, like no one's going to get how funny that is. But it was so funny to me that I literally spit the wine. Tim, are you there? Are you still there? I don't know. He's not there. I was going to tell him because it was with my brother-in-law, Michael, and he was on the show before us, and I spit wine all over Michael's table, and I was like, I'm so sorry. He goes, wow, what happened? In my head, things happen, and I laughed so hard that I couldn't even hold it in. So that's all right. Yours is just water. So with the radon, the mitigation process of it, the humidity, but ever since that situation happened to me, if I go near mold now, my cheeks burn immediately. So it's like I'm like a walking weather stick, so I know. Tell people, I know that and we only have about 4 minutes here, so why don't you tell people what are the 2 different types of testing that you can do for radon?
So we only do one of the 2 testing. Mm-hmm. So there's the 48-hour test. Yep. That gets you the best idea. The EPA recommended 48-hour test, and that's every hour on the hour it takes a reading. And it's a machine. It's a machine, yep, digital machine. Every hour on the hour, our machine tells us if the machine's been moved. So if someone tries to sneak it outside, we know. That's so important because Steve and I have stories. Steve, we went one time, and this was before he had like people picking it. I think what happened was we had it delivered 48 hours before, so when we did the home inspection, we would see, the results right then and there. And Steve's like, they unplugged it. And I go, how do you know? He goes, because it says it. Yep. Yeah, so you can't get away with that. And that's, sort of the sad thing to think that a seller would actually do that, right? But this is my point to this, Mark, is that's why I think it's so important to do the electronic, because there are the ones with the canisters. Little charcoal cans. Yeah, and you can get those at Home Depot, Lowe's, or wherever. I don't trust those because a homeowner, you could put a book on top of it and you're going to get a different reading. Put it on the front porch. Yep. Yeah, and no one's going to really know the difference. So I definitely recommend that you use, if you're going to get a radon inspection with Imperial Inspection Services, you certainly will get the best of the best. Last couple minutes that we have here, anything that you want to bring up that we didn't mention? We didn't talk about lead paint, but I think that we could do a whole show on that if you would come back. I can do that, yeah. Yeah, okay, perfect. So we can do a whole show on lead paint, but you certainly do the testing for that as well. Yeah, we do lead paint testing and water quality testing, like well water testing. Okay. As well as general water quality testing. It tests for anything from heavy metals, toxins in the water, lead in the water. Gives you an idea what your drinking water has. So do you do that mostly just for people who have a well, or are you doing that for people who are on town waters too? It's generally for a well, but if someone has again, health concerns, and they want to know everything, that can give them a better idea, because some town waters are not great. If you're in an older town, you might have older plumbing. Like I know where I was in Pawtucket, parts of Pawtucket still have wood pipes. Oh, really? That is so interesting to me. Because you know why it's so interesting? I didn't know there was such a thing as wood pipes. Wow. So, well, and I know they probably have a problem in the city, right? Because isn't it weird that we're seeing all these like water pipes that are just sort of bursting, but those are super, super old with copper and stuff, right? Lead pipes. find everyone's home, so now there's more water pressure all the time, because...
Oh, that makes perfect sense. All right, well, we have Mark V with us today from Imperial Inspection Services. Mark, that's our cue to get going, but we want to make sure that everybody has your number, so if you want to have a home inspection, if you want to have a pre-home inspection, he is the person that you would want to call. How do they get in touch with you?
I go on our website, imperialinspectionservices.com, or give us a call at 1-800-440-1141.
Give that number one more time.
1-800-440-1141.
Perfect. And to all our WATV listeners, and Tim, thank you so much for being with us today. We'll be back on Tuesday with Sam Horton. He is going to talk about investment properties. If you are a rookie at getting that first investment property, you want to listen on Tuesday. We're live 6:15 to 7. So he's going to let you know how that process works. So he will help you get that first one, go through the process, analyze, make sure that you're making a good investment. So make sure you join us on Tuesday with Sam Horton, full-time real estate agent here at Boston Connect Real Estate. And we will see you then. Bye, Tim.
Thank you.
WATD FM Marshfield, WPMS Brockton.
That wasn't bad considering
The South
that,
Shore's first choice for live team coverage
the
of
mess up at
breaking
the beginning, I
news,
feel so
emergency
bad that
traffic,
happened.
and severe weather. WATD. Streaming online
Had a
at
similar cough
959
fit when I was on Jack
WATD.com.
Dillon.